Hi, everybody. Welcome back to this talks that we're having this whole week with our esteemed judges. And today we have a very special guest. We have Gray here, Gray Dawdy. He is here with us, and he will be talking to us about several very interesting topics. But before anything, we want to actually get to know a little bit of Gray, and we want to understand what he does and how he has came to be to where he is. He is a designer that has had several collaboration and worked with startups and also industry giants. He has worked and collaborated with people like Bang & Olufsen, BMW, GoPro, Intel, and he has worked as well with agile innovators. So he has very long career of working in the industrial design side of things. And welcome, Gray. It's a pleasure having you here with us.
I'm excited. Thanks for having me, Jimmy.
You're welcome. So tell us a little bit more about you. How did you come to be to this whole part of the design side?
Yeah, so I'm originally from the United States. I'm from California, in the San Francisco area. I actually started out my career as an engineer, mechanical engineer. And I started out like kind of floating between doing product development, so getting products ready for like mass production, and also like working with production lines and stuff. I also started like more in like musical instruments. So I started working at a couple guitar related companies, which is cool because I like guitar, although I'm getting kind of bad now. And I actually, so I started working, but at the end of my bachelor's of engineering, I think one of the last classes I took was a product design class. And I was like, oh, no one told me that was a thing. I wanted to do that the whole time. So, which apparently is like not that uncommon, that people find industrial design late. So I worked for like 3 years as a mechanical and product development engineer. And then I went back to school for a couple of years for industrial design. And ever since then, I've been more focused on the design side, but the engineering stuff always comes in handy for sure. Yeah, and I would say I do like a couple different kinds of projects. One project, like mainly, I do a lot of different stuff just because my skill sets are brought out. But I would say mainly it's floating between. We want to design X, so like microphone, wireless charger, speaker, or something, whatever. Usually I do a lot of consumer electronic stuff, and can you work on the design for that? So I do those kinds of projects, which is like design geared towards production. And then I do a lot of these, we're a company, what should our next product be? So like next product concept projects, and researching, exploring, and doing like the first design of that. So I would say that's like my two main things I do. And since about, I think close to 2 years now, probably hitting close to the 2 year mark, I've been independent consultant. So I do product design for other companies as under my own, I guess, brand, which is Gray Dawdy Design, which is really just me. So I just had to put a company name when I registered legally. So it's just
No,
it's just me.
it's good to it's good to
Yeah.
see like this sort of other side also of this sort of independent consultant designer that a lot of designers tend to work for bigger companies, but also with you is it's a bit different because you not only have this sort of consultant side, but you also have some things Gray, which is it's not just a YouTube channel, but it's actually another part. It's sort of a way that we designers can learn from your experience, and I think that's valuable. Could you tell us a little bit more about this and how did this come
Sure.
up to
Yeah.
be?
I always forget to mention that for some reason. But yeah, so for those that don't know, I have a YouTube channel called Some Gray Things. And basically, I just make design related videos. I'm probably like the least consistent poster on YouTube, but I do get stuff out every now and again. I think my most watched videos, I do industrial design trends video every year. And the format is I kind of take a look at the trends, I break them down into form, detail, and finish trends. And then I also like will kind of design a product with the trends as we go. So it's really more of an excuse for me to design and get people to look at my designs. But yeah, it's also some fun. I started doing that in Corona, that weird time that we all lived through.
Yeah.
It's so weird to think about then. And I was just getting like super bored at home. And this was when video calls, so like doing like a Teams or Google Meet call like this wasn't that popular yet. And I started doing that with all the people I was working with, and some of them just had like really bad video setups. Like they'd be in a dark corner and the audio was awful, and so I kind of made like a video just to like make fun of them, just just like a video you make for your friends.
Yeah.
And then I kind of did that whole process, and it was fun, and my friends liked it. So then I just started like moving into making industrial design videos, and still doing it, still working on the next video. It's taking a while, but it's in progress.
I'm sure it'll be great. I'm sure it's gonna be awesome. Every time, even myself, I hate to admit it. Oh, actually, I don't hate to admit it. I'm part of admitting I'm a huge fan from the actual point of view. Love the trends video every year. It's super fun to watch, and seeing how everything just molds and shapes. It's really nice. But I think, so we can get a little bit more into the topic of everything. If you want, I can go ahead and pass you the word, so you can just start sharing your screen, and we can go ahead and start with your presentation. Does that sound
cool? That sounds great. I'm not sure if to share my whole screen or this window, but I'm gonna try sharing the window.
Sure.
Let's see. And you could tell me if this looks full screen or not, or if it looks weird.
Yes. No, it's full screen.
Okay. We could like resize it. Let's do this. I feel like it's gonna help. Okay, cool. Hey, okay. So hi everybody watching. Thanks for listening to me. I really like attention, so this is great for me. Yeah, so this is gonna be a little talk. It's probably gonna be kind of fluctuates, but I think like roughly 20 minutes ish, 25 minutes of talking, something like that. And then I think we do questions after. So who's this guy? I mean, I guess luckily we just did this intro where I just told you a little bit about myself, but I'm someone from the San Francisco area in the United States that ended up in Germany. And like Jimmy we just talked about a little bit. I do industrial design work with some brands, and yeah, we already talked about this. We'll move on. This is a picture from my YouTube channel. So if you think I screw around a lot now, my YouTube channel is basically me turning on a camera and screwing around. So if you like a total idiot screwing around about design stuff on camera, that's the channel for you. Anyway, what's this talk about? So yeah, Jimmy actually asked me to come talk to you guys, and I thought about some stuff that I'd want to talk about. And I think for me, I kind of knew right away. So this is a picture of me before I moved into design. I was young, I had hair, and I swear I looked really good with hair. It was like everything just basically flipped upside down, where my beard hair was my head hair. And 1 year it just kind of turned around. But anyway, I was young, full of life, and everything was looking up in the design world. And I think I just, yeah, I had the whole design career ahead of me. And now it's been, I think since this picture, this was probably like slightly after I got into design, so, but it's been close to like I think like maybe 8 years since I took this picture. And I saw this picture the other day in my photos, and I thought about, oh, what would I tell this person about design and working in design, and just some thoughts and random ideas I had. So that's basically what this talk is. I just kind of came with 12 things that I would tell my former self, and maybe it's useful information for you. Maybe you find it like helpful or interesting, or maybe you find it really condescending and boring, and it's not that interesting for you. So I guess watch and find out and see if you like it. So this is basically just like a random collection of stories and learnings and thoughts I've had on creativity and design over the last decade, basically, of working in industrial design as a product designer. So let's jump into it with the first few things. So I was like debating if I was gonna bring this up or not, because it's really embarrassing, but one of the first like big release product development projects I worked on was a drone, and I had worked on it and the mechanical part, and then I actually went to school before it launched, and then I was watching the launch and stuff, and it released, and then a week later it came out that there was like all these technical problems with it, and the project was kind of like, I wouldn't say it was a failure project, but it really felt to me personally that, like, you know, maybe there was something I could have done, or something I could have done differently, or something I could have done smarter. And I think this is one of my first big reality checks of when you work in design, there's a lot of things that are either out of your control, or if you're in control, you're gonna mess it up. And I think that's something like that I had a hard time coming to grips with, because I really wanted to be a good designer and engineer, and just learning that sometimes you're gonna screw up and things are gonna be hard. It's just kind of one thing to take away, and you'll get over it, and things will usually turn out fine later. But if you think you're gonna make every decision perfectly all the time, you're in for a reality check. So yeah, that's a good lesson for me. Maybe somebody else needs to hear it too. Don't know. The second thing, so this is kind of like a double meaning thing. This is like a screenshot of a microphone I worked on, and I really like this, because this is one of my favorite projects I ever did. I had a lot of creative control, and it was a really, really fun project. But you know, in the end, I was working with a client that they had to pay for tooling and all the parts and stuff, and I had to make a business out of this. And we were originally going to make this microphone with like an aluminum base, and it was going to be super high quality. But it turned out that just wasn't like a really feasible business plan. And I think that's something I didn't realize when I first got into design, is that you're not just designing things to be good products. You're also helping, like usually as a designer, you're working in a team or with clients, and you're also trying to help them create a sustainable business, which is something that isn't talked about a lot between designers, I think, but is super important. So for one, like people you're working with have to be able to create like something sustainable as a business, which in the end is good, because it means they're not going to, like, you know, go bust right away if they're thinking about this stuff. So that's a really nice thing. And the second meaning of that too is like personally for you as a designer, and for me, design's also like it's a business that you have to make enough money to live on and stuff too. And it's not all just like designing things. There's a lot of like business things where it's like legal or admin things. Like, you know, if you go as a freelancer, you have to set up a company or whatever the legal structure is where you live, and deal with taxes and send invoices, and there's all this other kind of stuff to deal with too. So there's a lot of things like that being a designer involves outside just designing, that you have to be aware of, but it's all doable, you know. But just keep in mind that that's extends beyond just creating great products. You just have to make your life work. Okay, actually, to be honest, I stole this one. I didn't come up with this, but I saw this in like a what do you call like a podcast, but in video. It's such a millennial moment. Basically, I saw this in like a webcast one time, and I just had to hear somebody say these words: "You get the work you show." And this was like, if you take anything away from this talk, this is the best piece of advice I can give you. So when I started my career, like I said, I switched from engineering into design, and I had a lot of things in my portfolio that kind of looked like this, like, you know, like machine design and like a lot of CAD stuff and a lot of mechanical drawings and stuff. But I wanted to get into more design stuff, but you know, I couldn't really do that because all the work I showed proved I could do like mechanical design, but didn't really show like, you know, like let's say the more like industrial design side of things. So aesthetics and usability and materials and all that kind of stuff. So really setting up your portfolio, and there's a great talk about portfolios yesterday, and just about like the work you show and the work you talk about. Really talk about the stuff you want to do, because in the end, someone's going to send work your way that they see you already doing. You know, for instance, I have a really good friend that works at IDES, like the shoe companies. Like Americans say Adidas, Germans say Adidas, but I'm gonna say like Americans say Adidas. And he set up his portfolio basically just to be hired by a shoe footwear company. And now he's working there and he loves it and it's great. So just keeping in mind that the work you show is the direction that you're going to get pulled into. And for me, this is one of the best pieces of advice I ever heard. So I just wanted to pass it on to you. So I had originally had this thought when I got into design that if I make a great design, that will convince everybody. You know, if I design a really good product that looks good and functions good, and you know, is smart business wise, that will rise to the top of the pile of ideas, and that's what people want to go with. I quickly found out, especially like I think you see this also, like I really first realized this when I was in school for design, and maybe you guys realize this too, is that a lot of times a bad idea well presented will get picked over a good idea poorly presented, which really annoyed my engineer brain at the time. But I think I kind of realized that that's that fact of life, and that you have to like basically help guide a design along, and it's not just about the design itself, but you also have to show it in a compelling way and get people excited and convince the right people, and really pull in like the whole team or company or whoever you're working with, to guide them towards the right decision. Because if you don't do that, a bad idea might get chosen over your good idea. So just keep that in mind. And I think that's also part of why designers have jobs, you know, too. A lot of this like storytelling is really convincing for humans. People aren't really the most logical beings all the time. Like we're really emotional, which is probably why designers have a job. And just keeping that in mind when bringing something out into the world and trying to convince clients of a good idea, a little bit of mustard on there, that really hurts. This is another one of those double meaning slides. There's, I mean, you guys have probably heard this a million times. It's better to ask for forgiveness than permission. So if you're working with your team, your boss, your client, whoever, and you want to convince them of something, honestly, the best way is to just do it quickly and show them. I spent so much time with clients where I was doing this morning again. I do this all the time, where you're in there talking about something abstractly, and everyone's discussing the best way to go forward. Like, should it be blue? Should it be red? Should it be green? And you as a designer have the tools to just quickly try it out, visualize it, build it, however you want to do it, and really just test that idea out. And also, if they think maybe it's not the best way to go, but you're really convinced about it, you can just try it quickly, without spending a lot of time and effort, and just see for yourself and maybe show them if that's the way to go too. So I'm really a fan of like not having too long of discussions over things, but really just like trying them out quickly. And that's kind of how I tailored my skill set to do, is to work fast and efficiently, bring things to life. And when you're trying to convince other people, I think this is a really good way to go, because it takes away all that like abstract discussion that you get into, that we designers kind of a way around, which is cool. And I said this was a 2 meaning slide. The second meaning is, if you're working on something, on a design or something, and you have an idea for something, just do the fastest, quickest, easiest prototype you can think of, because that will teach you so much so quickly, and will really just make like everything so much clearer, and you'll learn so much more than, for instance, if you just stayed like sketching something or doing something digital. If you just build it in 3D really quick with anything laying around, then you'll really have a fast way forward. So for instance, like this is like a project I'm kind of screwing around with a friend, and we were talking about making a lamp, and we were talking about putting this cover on it, and we were on the phone, and I just grabbed like, this was like a pot for a plant I had. I put it upside down on my desk, and I put this like, if you've seen my YouTube videos, where I wear a lot of beanies. So I put this on top of them. Like, it was just so quick and easy to learn about this stuff. And I think I put, this is, so based on that call and just trying something out quickly on my desk, we started kind of working this direction of design. You can see that this is like a really grainy render, because I quickly tried to render this out on my laptop while I'm traveling, just to show you guys where this is going. But, just like trying stuff quickly with some junk you have laying around can really help you come up with some new unique ways to move forward. So yeah. Okay, so that was like, I'd say the more practical stuff I wanted to talk about. These next things are a bit more fuzzy. It's a bit on like, developing your skill set, which I think is always a concern for young designers, and about passion, and just my thoughts as they've like matured over the years, and where I see it now, that I didn't really see things in the same way maybe 10 years ago. So let's jump into it. So this one's a bit of an abstract one to say, but I realized over the years, when I look back on the ideas or the designs I've had that I think really, I really think are my best work, not really necessarily what everyone else thinks, but the stuff that I really enjoy and I really like, I always had this, like, I wouldn't say inspiration, because I think that's something different, but I always just had this random urge to create something that I couldn't really explain, and I wouldn't be able to put in words, but I just would get this thought in my head and it wouldn't go away. And I think that's a super valuable thing, that as a designer you should really hold precious, because at least for me, those have been the best outcomes of my work. And I think it's not really inspiration, because I think inspiration is a bit more like it's a solution to a problem. But what I'm talking about here is kind of a more complete thing. Like, it is the problem and is the solution, is everything, and it is just like a direction you want to go in. So as a designer, you always got to be logical in some ways, but I think also just leaning into your intuition sometimes and trying stuff out, I'm really a big fan of, and I think that's where the best stuff comes from. So try that out. Yeah, this is like Oh yeah, and then the story I want to tell with this one was, yeah. So like Jimmy talked about, we were talking about earlier. Like I have this YouTube channel, which I think is like one of my more known things, and for that, I just really I had no reason to make a YouTube channel. I didn't really have time, but in my head there was just some reason that I had to do that. And then I started doing it, and it's been great. Not only been great, just for the fun of creating videos, but also to connect me to other designers and kind of sent me a direction that I would have never been able to like strategize or think out. Just that spark to go in that direction and try my own thing was really great. So I'd really recommend that to you. If you have some weird idea for something, go nuts. So this next story, also this is kind of a double meaning slide too. So the first story on this is I have a friend that was starting a hearing aid company, and I really liked the idea. What he wanted to do was he wore hearing aids his whole life, which there's quite a lot of people that do that, even from when they're young. So it's not really just like an older person thing. And he was really disappointed that you could go, if you had bad eyesight, you could go into a glasses store and get a really cool pair of glasses, sunglasses, eyeglasses, whatever. Like you can find really cool stuff. So it's not just like a medical thing where you have bad eyesight. It's also a fashion thing, and that's so cool and that's so liberating. But there's nothing like that for if you have bad hearing. So that was kind of his dream. So I jumped on that with him, and at first I started working on the design, which is this is like a little screenshot of the design. And then it kind of turned into me joining that company as well, and we were trying to build up this company together. And after a while, I realized I'm not the best company builder, but it made me realize that I'm a good designer. And I'm probably like some of you. Like I really, if I do something, I really try to do it well. So it was really frustrating to do this thing that I just wasn't that good at. But then I kind of realized that's maybe building a company isn't really, one, my skill set, or two, what I want to do. And I think that's okay too. So I ended up stepping away from the business side of things. I still help out in design here, but at least on the business side of creating hearing aids, it wasn't really for me. And I think that was kind of a hard thing for me to accept at first, that I can't be good at everything, even if I keep trying super hard. But that's okay too, because there's a lot of things I'm good at too. And yeah. And then for those of you in school that are worried about being good at skills, I promise you, and I can get proof of this and quotes, that when I went to my master's for industrial design, I was the worst sketcher in my class, confirmed by everyone I went to school with. And I worked a lot at it. I spent a lot of hours building up my sketching, and I'm like probably like an okay sketcher now, but there's a lot of other things that I do well that aren't sketching. So I think you don't have to be great at everything, and you don't have to be worried if you're not the best at any one thing, because that probably means you're better at something else. Yeah. And this is another interesting one. The same thing on the opposite of your weaknesses are your strengths. So when I first moved from engineering into design, I had in my head that I want to be a designer and I don't want to get stuck as an engineer. And I had this thought in my head that if I really show anyone my engineering skills, they're only going to want me to do engineering work, and I won't get any work as a designer. And looking back on that, I think that was a little silly and a little naive, because I think having strengths, even if it's not the only thing you want to do, just having that strength can be a really nice thing and really get you far. So for instance, when I work with clients now and we're like speeding production, like actually I was working on this last week. You know, I know how molds are made for plastic injection molding. I know what the limitations are, and I know what we can do. And just that knowledge and skill set background that I have really helped me do a better design in a shorter amount of time because I knew what we were going to do. So do you see a little color change from gray to orange? I did that. Don't hide. Yeah, like if you have some skills, don't be like me and try to hide your skill set. I really say let it shine, because it's only going to make you look better, and I don't think it'll put you in a box. So that's a little advice for young gray as well. I think this is my last slide on the skills and passion stuff, but this is something I haven't heard anyone talk about, and this is really also like a recent thing in my thinking about design. Is design now is you can find all the inspiration you could ever want. You know, there's a ton of stuff on Instagram, Pinterest, if people still use that, internet, everywhere, and there's so many cool things out in the world. I've heard some people like John Moriello has also another industrial design YouTube channel. It's way bigger than mine. He has a video where he argues that this makes every design look the same. I'm not really sure, but I think the one thing that people don't talk about enough is finding your version of weird, because that's going to make you stand out. So this is a little bit about, you know, building up your own style as well. So I think I would really recommend, if there's something that you see that you think is kind of cool or interesting that other people don't think is cool or interesting, that's the thing that you should lean into. So I'm always really actively now searching for like these weird design things that I like that I don't see other people liking as much. And I call that like my weird thing. So lately I'm really into like this squiggle shape. Like I've been doing a bunch of stuff with like this weird squiggly shape. This is like a lamp that I just did for my apartment. I haven't really posted it or anything. Maybe I'll post it one of these days. But just finding like the weirdest thing you're into that you're passionate about. I guess that's probably good for life too. I don't really know anything about life. I'll just talk about design. The weirdest design thing that you're into and passionate about that you see that no one else is seeing, I would totally recommend you lean into that as much as possible and just get weird with it, because that's what makes you unique. That's what brings something new to design, and that's what's going to really give you some enjoyment, instead of like, you know, everyone's copying teenage engineering right now, which is great. They do great designs, but I think I see a lot of people just kind of leaning into that too hard, and in the end, you don't see their personality coming through. And I'm a big believer in personality in design, so I would really like to see, you know, a lot more kind of weird stuff out there that's also done really well. Okay. That's a lot of the things we've talked about. I think I got like 3 more in this section, and then there's one little last section too. But we're getting close to the end of my condescending old man yells at cloud advice. So if you stuck through this long, good on you, and we'll keep going. This is one thing I didn't know about design, is it's being in the design field, I think way more than like other fields I've been in. So I was in engineering more before, and, you know, I talked to other people, all my friends, like a lot of my friends aren't in design. And design is one of those fields where you can really connect with people, not just people you work with, but also just other designers in general. And it's such a great thing to have in design, and it's like the cherry on top of the cake, or what do people say for that now? The cherry and the cola. Do people still put cherries in colas? Anyway, it's not important. Yeah, so this is just a picture. Like, this is one of the first places when I first moved to Germany, one of the first agencies I was working at, and everyone was so fun and cool. I saw a bunch of these people like last week again too. Like I don't work with them anymore, but it's such a great people. So, you know, if you work in a company or an agency, something, like ask those designers, other designers out for a drink, just go hang out with them, go get dinner with them. It's such a lucky thing to have in design. And if you don't work with other designers, which is totally possible, like maybe you work at a smaller company or you're trying to get started up, you can also create your own opportunities for design. So I started doing, I call it the Industrial Design Meetup in Munich. It's really an excuse for us to go to a bar and hang out. And about like once every couple months, we go hang out at a bar. And it's just something I thought would be cool. And I started and I organized, and it's not that much work. And it's a really great way to meet other designers. So definitely try to connect as much in design as you can. And the other way you can connect with people is through side projects. So side projects are basically projects that you're not doing for a client, you're not doing for work, you're not doing for your job, you're not doing necessarily for a design contest or something. You're just doing it for fun. And I'm a huge believer in these because design is one of the few fields that's not only like logical, it's also creative expression. So doing side projects already is a great idea, and I'm not the only person that's talked about doing this, I know, but doing them with friends is a super fun thing to do. I've done a couple design projects with friends, like just for fun, just like because I have somebody I know and I like, and I just want to hang out with them more, and I know they have a skill set that I don't, and that's a really great thing to do. So I have a friend that is really knowledgeable about textiles, and we started doing a project together, and it's like so fun and such a great way to connect you with other people. And the last little piece of advice in the section is share your craft with others, however you want to do that. I think design's really commercial a lot of the times, but doesn't have to be. So usually for Christmas, as long as I'm not like crazy busy, I'll kind of come up with something that I can make for my family. So this is like a little Christmas ornament. I just bought a new 3D printer and I just wanted to do something with it. So I made like, 20 of these little Christmas ornament thingies and just handed them out to like my family and friends around the holidays. And I'd never really figured out if they like it or not, but I really like being able to like create and design something and give it away. And in the end, it's not like a huge amount of work, and it's such a great way to connect with people and share your craft with other people. So I'd really recommend doing that more. And I don't hear so many people talking about that in design. So go nuts. Okay, last thing. Sustainability is kind of buzzwordy sometimes, but it's a great topic. It's a super important topic, and it's probably the most important topic in design right now, way more than that artificial intelligence stuff. But the thing that I had this thought about sustainability getting into design, that I would get on a project and like my boss or my teammates or my client would say, okay, let's like make this more sustainable, or let's work this in and do that kind of stuff. And my experience has been that no one's really pulling the sustainability. They're not asking for it, even though they should. So I think it's really up to you to really push sustainability into projects. And I think especially like you guys are probably way more educated on this than like my generation or people older than me are, and you guys have the skills and knowledge and also the drive to do it. I think just a lot of older designers have their way of working, and it's not necessarily incorporating sustainability as like an important part of it, or they just see it as an extra feature. I think it's really unfortunately up to you guys to push it forward, because people in my generation have been way too slow to like push sustainable ideas forward. and really make it like a key part of the design. Yeah, so I think that comes to the end. I think that kind of ended up being more than 25 minutes, but
No, it
let's
was
see.
actually great.
It was 30. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Yeah,
Yeah,
thanks for listening. Hopefully it wasn't too ranty as I usually do.
No, not at all. It was actually very interesting to see sort of your sort of approach to design seep out through the suggestions and advices that you were giving. It's interesting to see, for example, the whole thing of finding your weird. And I think you're right. Not a lot of people talk about this. I think it's something that we never think about, that that's the thing that's going to set us apart from different people. Just finding ourselves, you know, within this whole mess of crazy ideas. Some of them are ingenious, some of them are not, but finding what you really are differentiates is really interesting. um, Thanks so much for the talk.
What's your weird, Jimmy?
What happened? What's my weird?
What is your weird?
Oof, that's a tough one. I'm very techy, but I think that that's not weird anymore. I think my weird sort of has to be very abstract, curvature, shapes sort of thing. I'm not into the patterns so much, but I think mine is more the blobbiness. Put it that way.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Cool.
Yeah,
Very
yeah, I think
nice.
that's mine. But let's move a
My
little.
weird is being in a golden room. I'm in a hotel room right now. It's kind of weird.
No, the tapestry is beautiful. Very Italian. But let's move a little bit more into a Q&A session. I want to invite the universities, UDLA and ESPOL. If you guys are ready with questions, you can go ahead and ask. If not, we will begin with some questions that we have while you guys generate the questions. If you guys want, you can say the questions in Spanish and I will translate it to English if it's not a problem for you. I think we have one from Sport.
Can you hear me? Yes, Oliver?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. Hello. I just want to ask you, like, what's your creative process to, go from the idea to the actual product itself, and how you balance, like that engineer or more thinking on process part of your brain and the whole process, and that more creative side.
Yeah, good question. So I've answered the creative process question a couple of times lately, so I have kind of a good answer to that. So my creative process is, do you know, like, okay, this is a bit of a weird metaphor, but if you're hacking a computer, there's a couple ways to do it. And one of the ways is like you basically just type every single password until you get the right password. Like if you take your friend's phone and you just type in every password and it didn't lock itself until you get the right password, that's pretty much my design process. Like I just bulk attack design problem with every possible idea I can ever think of. And I kind of set myself up to work like quickly and efficiently where I can do that and then keep going forward. And I mean, before that, obviously there's getting inputs and doing research and all that stuff. I would say like my process personally, that's a little different, is that spot of just doing like a bulk of ideas as much as possible, to really see what the way is. Because it's a little bit to me like if you're exploring a forest, you have to kind of like go a bunch of different spots to figure out what the land is, and then you kind of know the best way through. So I really like doing it that way. And on the second part of that question, balancing engineering versus design, it's a really interesting question because I've worked at like heavily as an engineer and I've worked heavily as a designer, and I think I still haven't found a perfect way. When I started, I had a really hard time like coming up with a product design and not thinking about the manufacturing processes. Like I would start thinking about design, and I would be like, okay, well, you injection mold the piece like this, and then we can do like a stamped metal part on top. And it's like, you know, for like an early stage, like what's the general product concept that was like totally getting in the way. Now I think I've kind of, I think I also had a period where I evolved past that, and then, but then I just wasn't thinking about the engineering at all. And now I think I kind of floated back where you just have to kind of get a feel for, am I going to get into trouble later on or not, or is this going to be okay without overthinking it? So if you come up with an idea for a product, or you come up with some like form design or something, that you're not necessarily thinking of every single detail in that design or the manufacturing or the launch of the product or something, but at least you know there's going to be a way through this. And at this point, I just know that based on experience, but you guys are probably smarter than me, so you could probably find a better way to do that.
Great. Yeah, so we have a question from Utla. Go ahead, Juan. You are muted. Okay.
Hi.
Sorry to bother you. Great. Would you mind if we stop sharing the slides? This way we can be a little bit more on a larger screen.
Oh,
cool. Sorry about that. Go ahead with your question.
So what's the process, or like the path you took to discover your essence, or what makes you different from like other designers, like your style? Is there something specific that made you like realize what?
Yeah, there's a couple things. So when you start out, you don't really have a lot of work to look back on. So one of the things you can do is look at the work of others. So the school I went to for my master's had like this awesome library of like all the designers. So it was like, you know, Dieter Rams books, Marcel Vonder's books, like basically every big designer. They had that, you know, that was like thick coffee table books you get from designers. They had like all those. So I would literally spend hours like flipping through and finding stuff I like. And once you start doing that enough, and you can obviously also do this like on the internet now. This is like right on the flip of like the internet starting to have a lot of stuff. You can scroll through like, you know, Instagram, Pinterest, any of that kind of stuff, and just start collecting things you like. And after a while, you have a big enough collection where you can look back and start to see like the patterns in what you like, or start to get a sense of like what you like. So sometimes you'll see it and you'll say, oh, that's like something, yeah, like I definitely like this kind of thing. Like I'm always really into like really simple ideas that are just kind of genius, but like they're so like, whether it's like a simple part that's easy to make that just kind of looks beautiful, or it's just like a simple idea how things. And that's something I saw. I was like, oh yeah, I know I like that stuff. But sometimes you see things that you didn't realize you would like that much, but you kind of see yourself. So I really started noticing a pattern with like color pops for me, that if I told somebody what designs like, I wouldn't have said that. But it was like, once I started collecting stuff, I'm like, oh yeah, like I guess that's something I really like. And I started seeing it and embrace it. And then once you develop in your career, you can start just looking at your own work. I had this talk with a friend the other day, and he was like, I really like minimal designs, but none of my designs come out minimal. So maybe I don't like minimal designs as much as I thought. And I think it's just like looking back on your work and kind of seeing yourself in it and seeing the patterns is one of those ways to do it. But yeah, just absorb everything. Spend hours in libraries if possible, but everything's on the internet now. So just look up old designers that are cool and go nuts on that.
Great. Yeah, I think analyzing sort of the projects that people have made give us this sort of input onto what we really are. I mean, what we really like. But like you said, sometimes we may like one thing, but the way that we actually create is completely different, and we ended up making something completely different. But yeah, it's I think with the internet now, it's so easy to get some sort of a lot of information in one quick swoop, you know.
Agreed.
Okay, if we don't, do we have any more questions from the universities? If not, we can give you some time so you guys can think of some questions. Until then, I want to ask you a question from our side. What are your thoughts on the future of actual industrial design and the role of industrial designers and how we're going to change and evolve, and especially now with, you know, the whole change of AI happening? And it's not like I want to bring that sort of topic in, but we do have to mention it for the future of our role. What do you think is going to happen?
Yeah, I'm probably the wrong person to ask. Honestly, I have no idea. I can like throw some random guesses out and just say some random things, but I don't know. But the guesses I throw out, I mean, design is so dependent on like business cycles, so it kind of just fluctuates. So I think now the economy is slowing down a little bit, so people aren't like paying for design as much, so it's kind of slowing down, but it'll pick up again too. So I think design will just kind of like ebb and flow is the way to say, like a river, like it speeds up and slows down. So I think it'll kind of flow with that. As far as the AI stuff, like I think like when AI first started coming out, I remember waking up in the middle of the night, like, oh my God, am I gonna like totally lose my job and stuff? At least now, I don't think that anymore after like using it and playing with it. I think especially for like young designers, you guys are in the best spot because you can start out your career like just using it and playing with it, because it's another tool you can use and leverage. It's like you know, when computers first started coming out, in my generation's kind of like, I'm probably like maybe on the cusp of like if I'm ever gonna learn a new tool or not again. I think I am, but I'm probably like, you know, if I was any older, I probably wouldn't do it. Which is good for you guys, because then all the old farts won't be able to know how to do anything, and you'll just blow past them with all that stuff. So I would definitely like, I think it's a good thing to embrace. I mean, you basically like, if you don't like it, there's not anything you can do about it. So it's like, it's here. There's nothing you can do. So you might as well embrace it and use it as a tool, and be good at it. Because I think now what AI can do is kind of like, if you were working in a design team, you would get like, let's say an intern or junior person to do a lot of these tasks, which is like coming up with new concepts, creating, and basically like generating ideas and different designs and like conceptual ideas. And AI is really good at that, but narrowing down, and like, you know, I was having calls last week about, we have to injection mold this part and we're going to put like a lifter in it, and we can only do so much draft, but we want to get like this mold texture on it, and like these kind of like balancing all these different variables at once and coming up to a nice design solution. And like, you know, as anything in 3D still seems kind of like not that great, even though you can generate 3D from an image. That's pretty good, but at least like doing all this like stuff getting ready for manufacturing, I'm still waiting to see something there. So there's still a lot of design work to do. I think it'll just speed up a lot of things, especially like idea generation, and really help you out there. So if you can learn all that stuff and then go to a job interview and blow away all the old guys, and then you could take their job.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great answer. I think embracing the future, especially for these young students, it's important for them. One of the things that I would like to sort of agree to your answer is not to abuse AI, because I've seen young designers overusing the tools and letting it completely be overdone by the AI, instead of them actually, you know, guiding it as a tool. So it's just a small aggregate to your answer, but yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah, and then in the end, it's like, design, like I was saying this in the talk too, it's all also like self-expression. So if your goal is just to make any designed thing any way, it can do that pretty well. But if you want to make your ideas and your self-expression and do a product that you think is good, then the AI is only going to get you so far, and you got to take it home. But I'm a big fan of less work. So if AI can make things easier for me, I'm down with that.
For sure. That for sure. I think less work is always fun. All right. Do we have any other questions from the universities? Juan or in this poll? Let me see if they say anything. If not, we can move to one last question or here that we have, and then we'll start closing down. Okay. So let's move to this question, and I think this is an important question, especially for you, because of the way that you express through your videos and all these things, and through your work. And I think this one's an important, not only for everybody to know, but how do you stay up to date with the latest trends, seeing that in a way you are also the one described in the trends, and I'm sure a lot of designers are following you to learn about the trends.
That's the secret stuff, man. It's a lot of basically just collecting, kind of like the stuff I was talking about trying to find your own style. I just like a lot of design stuff. I love seeing other designers work. I love connecting with them. So I'm just like kind of constantly absorbing stuff all the time, and looking for new ways to do things, or getting excited if I see somebody do something a different way. So I think the finding stuff and the motivation is just, for me, internally there, just because I love design stuff. I'm in Italy right now. There's so many cool little like stores here that you just walk in, they have like so much nice stuff, and you're like, oh man, this is like so cool. So I'm just like, a really curious person by nature. As far as like the practicalities of where to find this stuff, there's a huge social media, especially on Instagram. There's like a huge design community. There's a great way to connect with people. And then there's a lot of great designers and design studios around the world that I always check out and keep an eye on and see what they're doing new. And I think between those two things, you can really find a lot of information. And there's just there's a lot of cool design in the world. Also, one of the cool things is just seeing the trends between countries too. Like it's so funny. Like I was at Maison Objet last year, which is like a furniture design fair in France. And you could like easily see like, okay, that's like from far away, like that's a French company, that's a Korean company, that's like a Belgian company, which is Belgium's like the secret cool design country coming up right now. So keep an eye on them. I really, it's all curiosity, and I absorb it. So don't shy away from that. Just soak it all up.
Cool. Yeah. And actually, as a last question, I think before we close everything down, I want to ask you something that to leave us and to leave the students and the people watching on YouTube and on Instagram, to leave us with sort of one sentence of inspiration and something that that will sort of inspire the spark that you were talking about before.
I got it. Do some weird shit really well.
An interesting one. I love it. Yeah. It works really well.
I'm gonna think about this later and be like, I shouldn't have said that.
No, it's quite all right. No, but it's actually very, very, very interesting to think about, because it's simple, it's direct, and it gives us a lot of inspiration for the future. And with that, I really want to thank you, Gray. I want to thank you for the time that you're giving us, for the time of participating with this contest and with the awards, and for being part of the judges panel this year. And we really are super happy to have you on board with us. We hope that everything is going to be good for you and everything that's coming up on the contest. We can't wait to see you Friday for the final ceremony. Thank you. Thank you so much for being with us.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for listening to me talk like it's important, which is not. But I really enjoy the attention. So thanks for having me, and best of luck to you.
Well, it's our pleasure. Thank you so much. And thank you everybody watching. Please remember that we are going to be having our ceremony for the awards, to where we are going to show the winners of this year's contest. And if you are part of the winners, please, you're going to be receiving an email in the upcoming days. Thank you so much to everybody, and thank you so much to our great sponsors: Design Wanted, Keyshot, Young Designers India, D2P, Studio Vopi, and of course Casina, that have been part of this journey for us to become something better, to help people and to give an opportunity for young designers all over the world. Thank you so much, and thank you, Gray, again.
Thank you.